Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Ashwin, and I'm joined actually by a very special guest. We weren't able to make scheduling work, so neither Varun nor DJ are with us. But I am joined with another friend of ours, longtime friend of the podcast, and of course, very close friend of Varun's, Rohan Narula. Rohan, thank you for being on Edges and Sledges.
It's my pleasure, Ashwin. Thank you for having me here.
So, tell us a little bit about you as a cricket fan. Your journey. I mean, like all of us, right? We all grew up in India in the 90s, grew up supporting the Indian team. And I will put the disclaimer out there that you're unfortunately for us a KKR fan, I believe. So not great during IPL season, but the rest of the year we're all on the same side.
I don't know how it's unfortunate that I'm a KKR fan.
For anybody who's been listening for long enough, Varun has shared his dislike of that franchise for the 4 years we've had this on now. So
I think he only does that to spite me.
I'm pretty sure he does. That's absolutely right.
So. My journey as a cricket fan. Look, like all of us, I grew up watching cricket, being obsessed with cricket. I was one of those guys who was also watching like county cricket. Back in the 90s. For some reason, I still follow it. And one of my seminal moments in my life was following India during the 2011 World Cup with another friend of ours, Ritvik, and watching them win the World Cup in 2011. Since then, I've been, a cricket fan. I used to follow other sports, but now I just primarily follow a lot of cricket. I'm invested in Team India's journey. I'm really invested in the future of cricket, and I'm glad we're going to talk about a little bit of that in this episode.
Yeah, so it is very interesting, right? As you think about the future of cricket, right? Like, talk to me a little bit about how you think. So England has been very clear in talking about, hey, we have almost entirely different red ball side and white ball side.
Yeah.
India hasn't quite embraced that, right? As you think about the Rohits and Kohlis and Bumrahs have been playing all format.
Yeah.
Now we're playing the West Indies. Zimbabwe's coming up before the Asia Cup. Do you think there's a future of Indian cricket where they're just two completely separate teams and you're either a red ball player or a white ball player?
I think it's inevitable. There are gonna be players like Rohit, like Bumrah, or maybe like Rahul, who will straddle all three formats, or if it comes down to two, that will happen because Test cricket is still great. Everybody wants to play Test cricket. It is. I think the joy of playing a good Test and winning it, or even drawing up, or playing a tight Test and losing it is far more than any. I think that's the highest point for any cricketer. So nobody's going to lose out on that. But yeah, I mean, the skill sets required to play limited overs cricket, which is T20 and ODI, and Test cricket are very different. And I think they should be developed differently, and it's okay. It's okay. I don't understand what is this need to straddle all different formats, because only a few people can do that successfully anyway.
Yeah, I think it's well said, and I think the thing that there's a long discussion I want to have with you in the second half of the show about ODI cricket, because that's been a hot topic lately. But people who talk about playing all format cricket and how the previous generation did it, the previous generation didn't have T20s. Yes. So all format at the time was still two formats, right? It was Tests and ODIs. They didn't exist till, call it 20 years ago. So yes, there's merit to both. But as it stands, India's playing the West Indies, right? Yes. No Rohit Sharma, no Virat Kohli, no Jasprit Bumrah, no KL Rahul, but that's because of injury.
Yeah.
Right. As you think about this, the team selection, right? I mean, we're sitting here, 2 ODIs. It's not really 2 of the 3 ODIs are done. India's just won the series. Yeah. I would argue, despite not being the first string 11, if you will, it probably was. Both matches were probably closer than we would have expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's start before we get into the match. Start with the 11 a little. So first off, Shikhar Dhawan's like India's 17th captain this year, I think.
Dhawan is still playing. That's amazing. Good.
What's the plan for him? Is it just, hey, there's one more World Cup, one more 50 over World Cup? He's one of the most prolific. I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, absolutely. But, he's done nothing wrong in the format. He's just being consistently prolific. He still got it. You could see his form across the IPL. ODI cricket is second nature to him. He's always been good at it. He continues to be good at it. Why not?
Yeah, fair enough. So Dhawan was opening. I think Rohit and Dhawan are now one of the top 5 best opening partnerships in ODI history. But Rohit was missing in action. They slotted in Shubman Gill at the top. Talk to me about that choice, right? Gill is, sort of, he's I don't think he's guaranteed a spot in the test team yet, but he's in the fray for the test team.
Yeah.
Right. He's played 11 tests. He's only played 4 or 5 ODIs. He's 22 years old. Is this a signal from Dravid and the selectors that like, hey, Rohit and Shikhar are still our top opening pair, but we know they're both mid-30s. They don't have forever. Is Gill just next in line?
I would not be surprised if that is the case. I think the way to distinguish between players who are going to play T20 and ODI is what is their gameplay style, right? I think we're going to come to Shreyas Iyer at some point. And I have mixed feelings about him anyway, being KKR captain, etc.
Former Delhi leader, now KKR captain. It's a whole thing, man. Yeah.
But the thing is, guys like Iyer, Gill, their game style, the way they play the game, it just suits the longer format better. And I think it's good to recognize that and to be like, I think the Indian cricket team, I think BCCI and Dravid and selection panel, they want to be fair to everyone, which I think is a good thing over a long term. But I also see short term. I can't find the word for it, but I can see short term flaws. No, you know what I mean.
Yes.
But they want to be fair to these people in the longer term.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand Shubman. Yes, I've seen how he plays. I was following him through these 2 ODIs. Playing the ball around for singles, rotating the strike, it's not that hard. And playing the long game, I won't be surprised. I will support it. I will support it if Shubman is next line.
Yeah, it's interesting. And some of it comes down to approach, where like Team England has said, we're going to go after every ball. Others comes down to balance, right? I sit here saying if your future ODI setup is Prithvi Shaw, Rishabh Pant, Sky, then we probably need a Shubman, to be honest, in the lineup, right? And if your future approach is more KL Rahul and Mayank and Ruturaj and those, maybe then Shubman is too similar to their style, right? So some of it just comes down to approach.
I agree, and thankfully you mentioned Rituraj, because it's similar for him as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we, in ODIs, man, we've appreciated the role of the anchor in T20s. In ODIs, you do need an anchor. I mean, that's why Rohit, all these guys stack up so many runs because you need those guys to hit the big hundreds.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it on the opposite side with Shea Hope in both games, right? But let's talk a little then about the middle order, if you will.
Sure.
And this number 3 is let's number 3, number 4, let's call it 5, right?
Yeah.
Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant, maybe Hardik Pandya potentially, as you think about full strength. But this was Shreyas Iyer at 3, Suryakumar Yadav at 4, and Sanju Samson at 5, right?
Yeah.
Sky is I've ranted a lot about this to DJ and Varun, but we talk about red ball versus white ball cricket.
Sure.
I do not think it's 2 formats. I think it's 3 very distinct formats.
Yes.
I worry that we've left this series with saying, hey, you know what? Sky is actually a shoe-in to the T20 side, but maybe he doesn't have the long game. Was that your takeaway? Or is 2 matches too quick for us to be judging a player?
I think it's 2 matches too quick, but I kind of agree with you, man. I mean, I think it's okay for Sky to play the high-risk cricket that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. I don't think he needs to adapt the skill set he has. It's so special. It's so unique. We don't need him to play ODIs. We have plenty of people to fill that, right? Punch played a number. Look at Punch's game. Another guy whose game suits a longer format. He has consistently proven us, with his performances. But Sky doesn't need to be there. I kind of agree with you. It's 2 matches too soon, but he doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, I mean, Pant is an interesting example who, I think, was it 2 weeks ago before his heroics in the ODIs against England that I was saying he's a guaranteed right now, at least, a test match player for Team India. And I love him, and I'm a big fan of him in the T20 form, but I don't think he walks into an ODI side or even necessarily the T20 international side. And then, of course, he proved me wrong and had a phenomenal limited over.
ODI man, he's all patience. He's just too good, and if he has enough patience, he can figure it out. But T20 side, I can agree with you. I still don't see him as a show-in, even though
I think he has what it takes. I just don't think he's delivered it necessarily yet for Team India.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this first ODI then, right? India bats first, and it's hard for me to say. I used to say rule of thumb, and I like you spend a lot of time in North America like me, but I spend a lot of my time explaining cricket to non-Indians or non-native cricket, people who didn't grow up watching cricket. And the rule of thumb has always been T20, win toss and chase.
Yeah.
Test match, win toss, bat first because you don't want to be batting fourth.
Yeah.
And ODIs depends on the surface a little bit, but in general, it's probably evolved from 90s being put runs on the board and more recently know
Yeah.
exactly what you want to chase. And it feels like my rules of thumb, my worldviews have gone out the window with England winning 3 unbelievable matches against New Zealand in the fourth innings in Test matches this summer, then beating India in a match where they had a fourth innings chase, then Pakistan beat Sri Lanka in a tough fourth innings. So the rules seem like they're going out the window.
Yeah.
But Ron, you would have taken 308 for 7 against a West Indies lineup that's missing a couple of key names, right?
I would have, but I have a qualifier for that. I was looking. I mean, but if you look at the innings, we could have scored way more. I think 300 after you haven't lost many wickets. You've had a great opening stand. I think we only scored like 60 or 70 in the last 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was 200 odd after 30 overs. And again, back to my rules of thumb, but they've always said you should double your score after 30, right? Especially if you're 200 for 1, 200 for 2.
Yes. I would have expected at least 330, 340. So I think India team should look at it as a slightly disappointing batting performance. I mean, even though we won, but West Indies was looking to chase it down pretty easily at one point.
So you talked about the role of an anchor, right? I have this argument a lot with so if DJ was on the show, I'm going to try to put words in his mouth, or Varun as well. They say like Shikhar being 97 off 99 when Gill was batting at better than a run a ball, Iyer was looking fluid. Shikhar, potentially slowed us down. The phrase match losing knock and things like that. Throw about. And I sit there saying when you have Sky making 13 and Huda making 12 and nobody else really stepping up in a big way. Like he made the most runs. He did it at about a run a ball. So I don't hold it against Shikhar. I hold it against everybody else who couldn't take the anchoring that he did and maximize it. So where are you on that?
I'm with you on it. I mean, I don't blame Shikhar for it. He did his role as an opener. He went at close to 100 strike rate. But that's what is required. I mean, why should he play the anchoring role and also accelerate later when you have all these other guys whose role is to accelerate for you? Sky, Samson, Huda. I mean, that is the role, right? So I have no complaints against Shikhar. 97 of 99. I think he did his job. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So India makes 308, gets off to a pretty good start, and then getting a wicket pretty early. I mean, first off, I guess I'm probably being harsh. It's easy for me to be an armchair critic. That's what we do on this show. But if you had told me the quick bowling lineup for Team India in any ODI was Prasidh Krishna, Mohammad Siraj, and Shardul Thakur, I would have said we have no chance of winning, right? Like I'm a big fan of Chahal. He's to me still our number one pick as the spinner. Axar Patel, obviously, in the second game, proved that he belongs, but he's fine. He's not the best bowler, but he's fine. And Deepak Huda's been a revelation a little bit with the ball.
I love Huda, man. Huda in the last couple of months has been great.
Yeah, I feel like I have known his ability with the bat more than the ball. I don't think I realized like how tight he kept one end in most of the opportunities he got. But yeah, talk to me about Siraj, Thakur, and Prasidh, right? Prasidh has arguably got a lot of chances this summer and hasn't really latched on.
Yeah, but look, man, Prasidh is one guy. I think that's the rule of thumb now, right? I think if you can bowl at 140 plus, you automatically get a shoe, and you have some level of control, then you automatically get into the Indian team, which is what Prasidh has done over the last 3 years. I remember Prasidh Krishna being a 130. He used to bowl around 130s. This is the year. I remember this because Prasidh was a death over specialist for KKR for a little bit, right? And he used to come, and he would bowl the last over, and he was great with the slow balls and Yorkers. And then suddenly the next year, he, became all lean and fit and started bowling a 140 with no control and got hit for 10 runs and over. Yeah. So anyway, that's the context behind Prasidh Krishna. But clearly, because he did that, he came into the limelight because Kohli and co were looking for people who could bowl that fast. And now he's here. I agree with you. He hasn't really capitalized on his chances, but he's had, like Axar has had these moments. Even Prasidh has had these moments. I think in a couple of ODIs in India, if I remember last year, he took 4 wickets. He's a bit on and off, much like Siraj in the limited overs format. But I think he's good enough to be stuck around it. stuck with. Sorry.
Yeah, it's well articulated. And I think what's interesting for me is we went from a nation of, like, let's call it Irfan Pathans, who had the pace, and we made them slow it down to get lighted like the swing. And like we used to have these blistering quick 18, 19-year-old bowlers who by the time they made it to the national team had slowed down. And now maybe the pendulum swung a little too far to the other end.
And Kohli gets all the credit for it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Kohli and Shastri, definitely all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. So Mohammad Siraj had the ball in the 50th over. I think they needed like 12, 13 runs ish of the last over.
Yeah.
And Romario Shepherd was looking unbelievable.
Yeah.
But kudos, Mohammad Siraj held his nerve, ended up getting on a last ball kind of through his legs. I think it was a full block hole delivery. I mean, they had a plan. So Siraj came out ready to bowl Yorkers. He bowled one full toss, I think, 3 great Yorkers. And, kudos to the rest of the bowlers too, because Shepherd is an outstanding hitter of the ball, but he is still the tail. So good job by Team India to restrict them.
But I also want to point out that we also have to look at the series in context of the previous series West Indies played, which was against Bangladesh, where they could not even complete 50 overs.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
They're going to take getting within 3 runs of Team India, right?
Absolutely. And that's what Nicholas Pooran said. He's like, I think this is good news, that we came so close and we played 50 overs. That is good news because we could not even manage playing 30 overs with Bangladesh. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about perspective sometimes, right? So with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk the second ODI and a couple of things about where Indian cricket goes from here. So don't go anywhere.
Hello, everybody. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Pesa Vesa, Anupam talks to Vivek Rathi. He's the Director of Research at Knight Frank India. They discuss the increasing importance of real estate and the post-pandemic consumer choices. On Smarter with Sid explains the art of visualization. On Marathi Kirkitan, the Deshmukhs explain the importance of teachers in everyone's life. On Do What Floats Your Boat, Danish is joined by graffiti artist Zake. They talk about what led Zake to choosing street art as a profession. And on A Sip of Finance, Priyanka lists 4 reasons why we delay insurance and the solutions to overcome them. Once again, I'd like to remind you all that we've got some exciting merchandise out there for you guys. Go to the IVM Podcast website and click on the shop tab and check out our first collection of t-shirts. Also, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We're also on YouTube. Do remember to check out a bunch of our channels over there. And also remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please tell a friend. Word of mouth is very, very helpful for spreading the word. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Boat Lifestyle, Small Case, Capgemini, and Intel vPro. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm joined by a special guest, Rohan, who is with us today. Rohan, we just got to walk through the first ODI. Second ODI, let's quickly talk team. One change, right? So we talked a little bit about Prasidh. It feels like Dravid or the selectors are finally starting to run out of patience with him, and they brought back Avesh. Right? How do you feel about that choice? Avesh I say brought back because he's played white ball cricket for India before. Yeah. This was his ODI debut. Deserved, right choice?
I didn't know it was Avesh's ODI debut. Yeah, I mean, he deserves it, man. Avesh has been a revelation last couple of years, and I'm glad they chose him. I read this. I think Harsha tweeted this, and I agree with him. He's like, Dravid is doing with Team India what he did with India A, where he sort of developed this pool of players. And I mean, now it's just incredible, right? Like where we were 15 years ago, and now we can put in 3 separate teams for like Test, ODI, and T20. It's incredible.
Yeah. The depth is really outstanding.
Yeah.
So, Avesh didn't have his best day, right? So West Indies bats first. Shea Hope playing his 100th match actually makes a century. Outstanding, just an outstanding cricketer. And Nicholas Pooran makes 74. Let me first ask you, I don't know where you stand. I don't think you and I have had a chance to talk about this, but Shardul Thakur bowled, and people who listen to this will say I'm biased. He bowled some of the worst I have ever seen.
Yeah.
And you look at the scorecard and say he picked up 3 wickets. He got Shea Hope, who was on his 115. He got Nicholas Pooran on 74. And then he got Rahman Powell, who, as a Delhi player, we know is obviously dangerous as well. So on the scorecard, he has this knack of picking up wickets. Like, what is it? Where does this come from? How does he get the wickets despite bowling what to me appears to be absolutely terrible?
I mean, man, I don't know how he does it, man. But yeah, like I've never been impressed. I think the only time I've been impressed with Shardul as a bowler was was last year in the tests against England. You know, where he sort of committed and bowled
Yep.
bounders. But apart from that, I just don't know how he picks up these wickets. He reminds me. I mean, but it's like Joginder Sharma won us the 2017
Yeah.
20 World Cup.
Yeah, that's true.
He's like, how does Joginder Sharma do it? But it just like happens.
Yeah,
Misbah Thakur hit him for a sick over, but he like gave a catch to Srishant. It just happens.
Yeah, that is a great memory that most Indian cricket fans have. But I don't get it. I have a close friend who says, "Hey, it's the amount of desire and intensity, and like he just wants it so bad that he finds a way to conjure up that one delivery. But you bowl 5 terrible balls in the over, then you happen to bowl one good one, and it just.
I mean, that's like Umesh, right? That's Umesh's passport. I mean, that his passport has kept being renewed in the Indian team because of that. He goes at 4-0 in Test cricket.
Yeah.
But somehow he picks up wickets and he's still there.
Yeah, he'll pick up 3. Right. So the West Indies ended up getting 311, right? At one point, Nicholas Pooran and Shai Hope looked like they may have gone on to get 350, to be honest. Yeah. Pooran was batting at about a run a ball, which is a recipe for disaster because we know he has the ability to explode.
Yeah.
And, well pegged back by Axar and Huda from one end. Chahal went for a lot of runs, but picked up one really nice wicket. And like I mentioned, Thakur picked up 3 as well. And then in a chase, this was one of the most not uncharacteristic, if you will, Team India chases for me since I've seen King Kohli in the setup. Now, I know Kohli's in bad form and we're not going to talk about it, but he redefined the ODI chase.
Absolutely.
And anybody who disagrees with that has not watched enough cricket. But so Gill made another decent score. Shikhar got out a little earlier. Let me start by asking about Shreyas. So we talked about him a little.
Yeah.
He is the KKR skipper right now. I would say he had a phenomenal IPL 2021, but 2020 and 21, but had a pretty weak 2022, which was not great for this recent day, and this recent year, excuse me. And he made 63. So making a century means great. You got to come back in ODI cricket. What does 2 50s mean when you 2 back-to-back 50s mean in ODI? Does it add enough?
It means it doesn't mean anything, man. I mean, they just stuck around. I mean, Shreyas. Look at his IPL game. What did he do for KKR this season? He just knocks around the ball. This is his modus operandi. I have studied this because I'm so irritated with him all the time. He comes in really hard. He comes in showing intent. You'll see in his first 10 deliveries, his strike rate is 150 or 170 because he's I don't know if he did in this format. And then he just knocks the ball around. He's very good. He's very, very good at knocking the ball around, taking singles. It's not hard for him, and he's a smart guy. He's patient. He sees the long game, and yeah, I mean, I'm not. I mean, it seems really harsh to say that someone who scored a 50 has not played to the. I mean, I'm not saying that he played a good innings, but I don't think it says anything. Honestly, it's not a big deal.
Does he walk into your T20 India side? Which we're not talking about.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay.
Shreyas does not walk into my T20 India side. No way.
So Shreyas is KKR skipper, but doesn't belong in any Team India format for you. You think?
No, I think I do back him in tests.
Okay.
He was found out.
Yeah.
But I back him, man. I mean, he has the game for it. He showed. I mean, I think the New Zealand test that happened last year. He played really well. I think he belongs there. ODI cricket, second nature. He can do it in his sleep. Let him play that. Shubman Gill, Shreyas Iyer, play ODI, man. No problem.
Interesting. Right. So the top order did okay, if you will. Right. Gill and Iyer each made 50, or Gill made 40. Iyer made 63, and then Sky didn't perform again. We talked about him a little bit, unfortunately, already. Then you had Sanju Samson and Deepak Huda, and you're sitting there. I think by the time Huda walked in, it was it was about 200-ish or 180 or so.
Okay.
And they needed, almost 8-9 runs and over.
Yeah.
And you're down 4 wickets, and West Indies is probably backing themselves. And then Samson and Huda put up this interesting partnership, almost at about a run a ball. And Samson ends up getting out despite making 54. So I want to ask you about him first, right? It feels like he's been around forever, but he's 27 years old. This was only his 3rd ODI. He's played 130 odd IPL matches, I believe. Huda similarly has almost 100 IPL matches, but only his 3rd or 4th ODI.
Wow.
So I think it goes back to what you said about depth. But as Samson and Huda are batting there and they perish, you look down the order and say Akshar's coming in at 7, Shardul's at 8. Like, this is not Jadeja and Hardik
It's
coming
not
in, right?
Jadeja, correct? Yeah.
Talk to me about Axar Patel then, right? Like, he walks into this innings. He does this every 3 or 4 years. He did this, I think, last in 2019 in an India A match against West Indies A, actually. And how does this guy do it? He doesn't look like he has the strength to hit the sixes he does. I don't have an explanation for it. I remember there was WhatsApp screenshots of me ranting to DJ and Varun about, like, you had the opportunity to retain Kagiso Rabada or Shreyas Iyer, and you retained Axar Patel as Delhi. I'm
Yeah.
sure there was more behind the scenes, but
Sure.
like 64 off 35 in an international match against a West Indies bowling lineup who is restricted, arguably much better batsmen. It was an unbelievable knock, right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. He was hitting sixes for fun. And he does this. I mean, the thing with Axar is, he's never short of confidence. He always comes with like total. I think it's the Shardul syndrome. Like he walks into the field with total confidence. I think his skill set is he's good, but is he Jaddu? He's not Jaddu. I think that's Aksar's thing, that he is good, but he's not Jaddu. So I'm not surprised that he did it. I'm not surprised that he did it. And I also want to touch on one more thing. I think this is also, I mean, I hate to say this, but this whole talk on this new India, but it's true. I think I think the kind of dominance we have shown through the IPL and world cricket over the last 7 to 8 years is just given so much confidence to these players that they believe they can pull it off. So I think there is the difference. You've seen a lot of these innings. You've seen Thakur do it a couple of times. The Australia series win. We just believe now, and I think that's part of the culture, and that's good. But coming specifically to Axar, you're right. He does that once in a while, and it's great that he does.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think well said, and a good win for Team India, but a little bit scrappy, right? I wasn't exactly expecting it from the position that we let ourselves get into, but hey, nice win over the West Indies. I'm actually more excited about the India-West Indies T20s. 2 reasons. One, they're a phenomenal T20 side. We know the West Indies are unbelievable. And 2, the World Cup coming around the corner, right? So there's so much more to figure out. Let me quickly ask you about this third ODI, Rohan, and then a little bit about the kind of the future of Indian ODI cricket. So third ODI, I was looking through the squad, right? We played a lot of our batsmen. The ones we didn't play in the first 2 are Ruturaj Gaikwad, who we talked a little bit about, Ishan Kishan. And then from a bowler standpoint, the only one we didn't play is Arshdeep Singh. I felt it was a little harsh on Arshdeep. He probably had a better summer than Prasidh did, maybe even than Avesh did, and he obviously didn't get a look. So do you see any of these 3, Arshdeep, Kishan, or Ruturaj, getting a look in for the next match?
I agree with you about Arshdeep, man. I think it's very harsh on him. I think he's a phenomenal bowler. Maybe I think the problem, and this is a problem with the IPL, right? Like, if you're not on the wickets board, they don't notice you. But if you look at his figures, like, he just did. I mean, his death bowling economy rate, I think, was 6 or 7. He was great. I think in his debut, he bowled really well. And I think he's just better put together than these guys. But I don't know why he's not getting. So I hope he gets a chance. I really hope he gets a chance. Again, with Ishan Kishan, man, just pick a format for him. I don't think he needs to play all. Just pick a format for him, and it's fine. I think Ruturaj should play. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. On the Arshdeep point you make, like, often when you look at any bowler's figures, you have to look at the other bowlers around them, right? So Arshdeep not taking wickets is because he's building so much pressure that it enables the other guys to go up wickets, and it's important you look at that. But yeah, as we look at the T20 squad, Rohit comes back in to play the T20s against the West Indies. He's going to be captain again. Hardik comes back in, but Ishan Kishan is in that squad, so it'll be interesting to see if they play them there. But we will talk that one next week, I believe. I'm not sure when the third ODI is and when the T20 started. It looks like the third ODI is going to be Wednesday, and then by Friday the T20 starts. So it's just nonstop with Indian cricket. But Ron, before I let you go, we've talked a little bit about tests and T20s, and so I have 2 questions to ask you. Hey, they're not big questions at all. One, what is the future of ODI cricket? Like, a lot of discussion on Sky and stuff this week, where folks were saying, yeah, this format's not gonna exist. I know I find it myself hard pressed to watch ODIs now. I love watching tests, which is hard to explain. Like, you can watch 8 hours a day, 5 days, or I like watching T20s, but I feel like I'm stuck between the ODIs. Is that where you are?
Absolutely. I think for me, the only relevance with ODI cricket is the Cricket World Cup. That's it. I mean, I don't understand the point of bilaterals. The only reason bilaterals exist is because of the economy ecosystem around it, right? It's because it's the way for ICC and for these boards to make money. Why does India play so much cricket? Because every board wants to play with India, because that's how the annual revenue, they meet the annual budget, because otherwise they won't.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the only reason that ODI cricket is played. World Cup and this, the ODI Super League, sure, but if you start playing the weaker teams, there is no threat of you not qualifying for it, right? That's then somebody pointed out that South Africa, they decide they've what's that word? They're not playing Australia in January, right? They have.
I saw that. Yeah, because of their local IPL T20, and
Yeah,
they might
like,
lose points and all that. Yeah.
But what does that tell you? It's about the money. They're like, we cannot, we will make X amount of money playing this. It doesn't matter if we lose 30 points, because, we might just make it either way. And if we don't, it doesn't matter. So then if you're losing relevancy, and if the problem is only commerce, that can be figured out, man. You can figure that out. But the only relevance of ODI cricket is the Cricket World Cup, because that's the World Cup that exists. That's the history behind it. So you will continue to have that, but bilateral ODI series is a snooze fest, man. It's just
what the hard part is, then how do you have that World Cup teams playing at the highest quality if they haven't been playing for the 4 years in between, right? So what's the bare minimum, I guess, you need to play in between the World Cups to have a squad that's good enough?
Yeah, I think I think cricket is moving in the way hopefully is moving the way of football. Like, the way it was done is that you have these friendlies concentrated, right? Imagine a week of everybody playing against each other, right? Rather than these bilaterals. If India plays 3 teams over 3 days, and you have a venue where people are doing that, then you are creating a sort of a mini multi team tournament. And then you have points for that, then that sort of contributes to you playing the World Cup. I would take that rather than watching, these bilaterals, because it's just not that fun.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You and I both in North America. Time zones for the India West Indies series are great. We could be, but it's not that exciting. I'm looking forward to Friday and the T20s. But I wasn't that excited about it. So
and
before I let you go,
that's the point. I'm willing to put in 4 hours to watch the T20s, but suddenly to spend double or triple that amount to watch ODI, I'm not going to do that. So
it's fascinating. I think it's the sport has a lot to deal with. But while ODI cricket is around, the last thing I want to ask before I let you go is what is India's best ODI 11 for now? And let's say between now and the next World Cup, because you could argue who's the next generation and youth and Gill and all these people we talked about. But as of today, as you look at this series that's just happened, who's your best playing 11?
I mean, man, okay, let's do this.
I have mine written down, so I'm going to let you go first, so that I'll see if we have discrepancies.
I think India's best 11 right now is Sharma Dhawan.
Yep.
I'm mixed feelings about Kohli, but I'm still going to put him there.
Okay, interesting.
Kohli, Pant.
Yep.
I would, and after that, Hardik, Jaddu, Bumrah, Shami, Chahal. Where am I? I'm like 8, 9.
You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You have 6 batsmen, including Hardik and Jadeja, and 3 bowlers so far. So you have 9.
I have 9, right? I think one more batsman. I would put Iyer in there. And another bowler. The third bowler who. What I put. I'm confused about the last bowler. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, some of it depends if you're playing a three seamers.
Yes.
Wicket. Do you play and one extra seamer? Okay.
Yes.
So
I would put Arshdeep there because of a left arm variety. Why not? Let's do it. Yes.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I was very similar to you. I think the question mark for me is on that. So no question, I think, right now on the top 3, right? Yeah. Maybe there are question marks, but I don't have any question marks on Kohli's spot. Rohit, Shikhar, and Kohli. Then Pant at 4 is a fascinating choice, but I'm there too. And then essentially, I think your 4, 5, 6, 7 become Pant, Hardik, Jadeja, and then one more batsman, right?
One more
I think
batsman,
they might try. Like I actually have Rahul still in my list. So
Oh yeah, of course.
Rahul
Yeah.
at 5. So call
Rahul
it
at
punt
5,
for
yes.
Rahul 5, Hardik 6, Jadeja 7. But if you're 250 for 3 with 9 overs left, you send out Jadeja. You send out Hardik at 5, right? So
Yeah.
you'd have to that. And then Bumrah, Shami, no question. Chahal, still no question. And then again, yeah, if you're going with a third quick, I still have Bhuvi in my setup for some reason. And maybe that's just me being a little old school. But Arshdeep, of course. And then lots of
I think your 11 is better. I think I would definitely. I completely forgot about Rahul because I haven't seen him.
Yeah, it's amazing how when you're injured for a couple of months, you just
Yeah.
get forgotten. It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, Rahul at 5, man. Like, I mean, just think about the revelation when he sort of changed his game and became India's number 5. Yeah, Rahul at 5 is great. Yeah, then Hardik. Yeah.
Anyway, there you have it. If there are any selectors listening to this show, we've just done your job for you for ODIs, so you can take a little bit of a vacation. But this was fun. Rohan, thank you for coming on the show. It's been great to chat. It's been a while since you and I got to catch up as well. I look forward to hopefully doing this again more soon, and hopefully India winning that third ODI and then sweeping the T20 series as we get ready for what's undoubtedly going to be a pretty exciting Asia Cup. I'm pumped for it. It's been a while since I don't remember when there was an Asia Cup last year.
Yeah, I know, right?
And Pakistan played, and so it's going to be great. But thank you for being on the Edges and Slides Cricket Podcast.
Thank you, Ashwin, for having me here.
And for all our listeners, as always, thank you for tuning in. We are at One Tip One Hand on all the social medias. We'll be back next week. I'm still unclear which combination of Varun, DJ, and I, and hopefully all three of us can make it on. But by then, we'll have some West Indies T20s to talk about. So stay tuned, and we will see you next week.